Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. The annual corporate party was in full swing, a glamorous affair held in one of the city's most opulent hotels. As I walked through the crowded ballroom, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. The chandeliers above us glittered like stars, casting a warm glow over the sleek, modern decor. For most people, tonight was a celebration, a night to unwind, network, and maybe have a little too much to drink. But for me, it quickly became something else. I kept a drink in hand, not because I wanted it, but because it gave me something to hold on to as I drifted from conversation to conversation. Emily, my wife of 5 years, had insisted we attend this party. It was, after all, the kind of event that mattered in her world, a chance to mingle with influential people, make connections, and further her career. I didn't mind. I was proud of how far she'd come in her job, admired her ambition. But tonight, something felt off. Emily was always the social one, easily weaving through conversations and charming anyone within earshot. I wasn't worried when she left my side earlier to talk to some colleagues. It was typical of her to make her rounds, and I had no reason to think anything of it. That is, until I saw her across the room with Ryan. Ryan Carter. We'd met a handful of times. He was one of Emily's colleagues in the marketing department. Tall, good-looking, always a little too smooth for my liking. I had shrugged off my suspicions about him before, chalking it up to my own insecurities. But tonight, something about the way they were standing together set off alarms in my head. They stood by the bar, close. Too close. Emily was laughing at something he'd said, her hand lightly brushing his arm as she leaned in. Ryan's smile was wide, his eyes locked on hers. I felt my chest tighten as I watched their interaction, every instinct telling me to look away, but I couldn't. My grip tightened around my glass. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, that I was being paranoid. But then I saw it, a subtle, fleeting gesture. Ryan's hand grazed the small of her back, and Emily didn't move away. Instead, she seemed to lean into it, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. My stomach churned. I made my way through the crowd, weaving between guests, determined to confront them. As I approached, I caught snippets of their conversation, light-hearted and casual, but something about the way they spoke felt intimate. Emily glanced up and spotted me. Her smile faltered for just a moment, replaced by a flicker of something, surprise, maybe guilt. "Jordan," she said, her voice bright but a little too forced. "There you are. I was wondering where you disappeared to." She stepped away from Ryan slightly, creating space between them as I arrived. "Hey," I said, keeping my tone neutral, though my mind was racing. I looked at Ryan, offering him a tight nod. "Ryan." Ryan gave me a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Jordan. Good to see you, man." My gaze flickered between them. I couldn't help but notice the tension in the air, as if they'd been interrupted in the middle of something. "Everything all right?" I asked, my voice calm, though my pulse was anything but. Emily's smile wavered. "Of course. We were just talking about work." "Yeah," Ryan chimed in, quickly. "We've got this new campaign coming up. A lot of moving parts, you know how it is." I nodded, but the unease in my chest grew. Something wasn't right, and I could feel it in the way they both seemed to dance around the conversation. I decided to test the waters, to see if I could catch them off guard. "I noticed you two looked pretty deep in conversation," I said, watching their reactions carefully. Emily's eyes darted to Ryan for just a second, quick enough that most people wouldn't notice, but I did. "It's nothing," she said, her voice softening. "You know how it is, just office talk. You're reading too much into it." Her response only made my suspicion stronger. I opened my mouth to press further, but before I could speak, Ryan suddenly excused himself. "I should get back to the group," he said with a quick nod, already stepping away. "Catch you guys later." The moment he left, Emily turned back to me, her expression guarded. Jordan, please don't make this into something it's not. I'm not, I replied, though my voice was sharper than I intended. But I saw the way he was looking at you. Emily sighed, her hand brushing through her hair in a nervous gesture. Ryan's just friendly. You're overthinking it. Friendly? I echoed, my frustration bubbling over. That looked a lot more than friendly, Emily. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Her eyes darted around the room, as if she were looking for a way out of the conversation. Finally, she let out a breath. Jordan, we're at a work event. Can we not do this here? Her voice was quiet, almost pleading. There's nothing going on. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust that I was imagining things, that it was all in my head. But as I stood there, staring into her eyes, something told me that wasn't the case. There was a distance between us now, one that hadn't been there before. Before I could respond, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. Ryan was back, approaching us again, this time with more confidence. And then, in a moment that seemed to stretch forever, I saw it. He leaned in, too close. His lips brushed against hers. It wasn't long, and it wasn't exaggerated, but it was real. I froze, my body going numb as the world around me blurred. Time seemed to stop, and all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. Emily pulled away quickly, eyes wide with shock, but the damage was done. Jordan, her voice was small, barely above a whisper. I couldn't find the words to respond. The betrayal was right in front of me, undeniable. The woman I had loved, trusted, and built a life with had crossed a line. The days following the gala were a whirlwind of emotions. The betrayal I had witnessed gnawed at me relentlessly, but there was little I could do to address it without confronting Emily directly. It wasn't until I met Anna Carter, Ryan's wife, that I began to see a potential path to justice, one that involved not just personal retribution but also a broader revelation of deceit. Anna and I had exchanged pleasantries at past corporate events, but I hadn't known her well. When I reached out to her, she agreed to meet, sensing the gravity in my voice. We decided on a quiet cafe, a neutral ground where we could speak freely. I arrived early, the stress of the past few days weighing heavily on my shoulders. Anna walked in just as I was getting anxious about our meeting. She was dressed in a smart, understated outfit, a sharp contrast to the opulence of the gala. Her presence exuded calm confidence as she approached the table where I was waiting. Jordan, she said, offering me a warm but cautious smile. It's good to see you, Anna, I replied, standing up to shake her hand. Thank you for meeting me. We sat down, and she ordered a coffee before turning her full attention to me. Her eyes were sharp, betraying a hint of the anxiety I felt mirrored in my own heart. So, what's going on? Anna asked, leaning forward slightly. You mentioned you saw something at the party. I took a deep breath, recounting the events as clearly as I could. I saw Emily and Ryan together. At first, I thought it was just friendly, but then I saw them kiss. It was a total shock. Anna's expression turned from concern to something more resolute. I've suspected something for a while. Ryan has been distant lately, and his behavior has changed. I didn't want to believe it, but your account, it confirms my fears. I was surprised by her reaction. You suspected something? Why didn't you say anything? I wasn't sure, she admitted. And it's difficult to confront someone when you don't have concrete evidence. But now that we have it, we can't let this slide. They need to be held accountable. I felt a spark of hope. What do you suggest? Anna's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. I think the best course of action is to expose them publicly. If we present the evidence at the upcoming company gala, it'll force them to face the consequences of their actions. The idea was both exhilarating and daunting. Expose them? Are you sure? Anna nodded firmly. Yes. It's the only way to make them understand the impact of their betrayal. Besides, it will also serve as a warning to others who might think they can get away with similar behavior. I hesitated, feeling a mix of relief and trepidation. And how do we go about this? Anna's demeanor shifted from supportive to strategic. We'll need to gather all the evidence we can, photos, messages, anything that proves their affair. I have some resources that can help with this. Once we have everything, we'll present it at the gala. It'll be a public spectacle, but it will ensure that the affair is exposed for everyone to see. We spent the next few days working together, tracking down every piece of evidence we could find. Anna proved to be resourceful and meticulous. She was clearly driven, and her determination was a driving force behind our plan. One afternoon, as we were going through the collected evidence, Anna turned to me with a serious expression. "Jordan, I need to be upfront with you. This isn't just about revenge. We need to make sure the fallout is severe enough to prevent them from trying to manipulate the situation in their favor." I was taken aback by her intensity. "You mean you think they'll try to cover their tracks?" Anna's gaze was steely. "Exactly. Ryan's a smart guy, and Emily is good at spinning things. If we don't make this public and undeniable, they might find a way to turn the situation around." I nodded, feeling the weight of the task ahead. "All right. What's our next step?" Anna smiled, a mixture of relief and resolve on her face. "We'll finalize the presentation of the evidence and ensure that everything is in place for the gala. I'll coordinate with a few trusted colleagues to make sure the exposure is unavoidable. The more people see it, the less chance they have to spin it." The plan was set, and we worked tirelessly to prepare for the gala. Anna's meticulous approach and my own mounting frustration drove us to ensure every detail was perfect. As the day of the gala approached, the tension was palpable. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me. We were about to unveil a scandal that would not only change the lives of Emily and Ryan but would also ripple through the entire company. The thought of confronting Emily and Ryan publicly, of making their betrayal undeniable, was both a relief and a source of anxiety. But as I looked at the evidence we had gathered and the support from Anna, I steeled myself for the confrontation that lay ahead. The plan was in motion, and there was no turning back. The gala was everything I had come to expect from these corporate extravaganzas, an opulent display of wealth and success, punctuated by a buzz of excitement and pretense. The grand ballroom was adorned with elaborate decorations, and the air was thick with the fragrance of expensive perfumes and colognes. Guests mingled with glasses of champagne in hand, their laughter echoing off the high ceilings. Anna and I arrived early, our plan carefully executed. We had ensured that the evidence we gathered was ready for the grand reveal, and every detail had been arranged to ensure maximum impact. I could feel the weight of anticipation settling heavily on my shoulders. Anna was calm and composed, her demeanor a stark contrast to my growing nervousness. We had arranged for the presentation of the evidence to occur during the peak of the evening when the room would be at its fullest. I glanced at her as we navigated through the crowd. "Are you sure everything's set?" I asked, my voice tinged with anxiety. Anna gave me a reassuring smile. "Yes, everything is in place. The projector and screen are ready, and the evidence has been queued up. Just stay calm and let the presentation speak for itself." I nodded, trying to muster confidence. As we approached the front of the room where the presentation would take place, I saw Emily and Ryan mingling with other guests, seemingly oblivious to the storm that was about to break. The moment came when I took the microphone, the room gradually quieting down as I cleared my throat. Anna stood by my side, her expression a mix of determination and anticipation. I glanced at her one last time before turning my attention to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart, "I have something important to share with you tonight. Something that concerns not only personal integrity but also the values we uphold as a company." Whispers rippled through the crowd as I gestured towards the large screen behind me. The first image appeared, photos of Emily and Ryan in various intimate poses. Gasps and murmurs spread through the room as the images flashed across the screen. Emily's face turned a deep shade of red, her eyes widening in shock. She looked around frantically, searching for a way to escape the spotlight. Ryan, on the other hand, stood frozen, his expression a mix of anger and disbelief. What is this? Emily's voice, barely above a whisper, cut through the murmurs. She stepped forward, her eyes darting between me and Ryan. Jordan, this isn't what it looks like. I met her gaze, my heart aching but my resolve unshaken. Emily, the truth is right there for everyone to see. You and Ryan have betrayed not just me, but the trust of everyone here. Ryan tried to intervene, his voice rising above the growing chaos. This is ridiculous. There must be a misunderstanding. Emily and I have been involved in an affair, I interrupted, my voice unwavering. And that's not all. We've also uncovered evidence of embezzlement and other financial misconduct linked to you, Ryan. The room erupted into chaos. Guests whispered furiously among themselves, some looking shocked while others seemed intrigued. The spectacle was unfolding just as Anna and I had hoped. I felt a grim satisfaction as the spotlight turned on the two of them. Anna, standing beside me, leaned in and whispered, "You're doing great. Just keep it together." As the commotion continued, I saw a few of Emily's and Ryan's close colleagues approach them, their faces a mix of concern and anger. Among them was Mark, a senior executive who had always seemed friendly but distant. "What's going on here?" Mark asked, his voice tinged with confusion as he approached Emily and Ryan. "Is this true?" Emily's attempts at defense were swallowed by the noise of the crowd. "Mark, it's not what it seems. Jordan is." Before she could finish, another image appeared on the screen, emails between Ryan and a known associate, discussing financial discrepancies and unauthorized transactions. The evidence was damning and irrefutable. Mark's eyes widened as he read the emails. This is serious." The room buzzed with speculation as the evidence continued to roll. The weight of the scandal was sinking in, and I could see the realization dawning on many of the guests. The affair had been the catalyst, but the financial misconduct was the hammer blow. As the presentation concluded, I took a step back, allowing the gravity of the situation to settle over the room. Anna, too, was quietly observing, her eyes reflecting a mix of satisfaction and something else, perhaps a hint of cold calculation. Emily and Ryan were now the center of a storm of scrutiny. They tried to salvage what remained of their dignity, but it was clear that their careers, and perhaps their reputations, were in tatters. As the guests continued to whisper and gossip, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity for them, despite the betrayal they had inflicted. Anna approached me as the crowd began to disperse, her demeanor calm but with a glint of satisfaction in her eyes. "You did well tonight, Jordan. The message has been sent." "Thank you," I replied, though my voice was hollow. "But this is just the beginning. We need to address the fallout and make sure that the full extent of their actions is understood." Anna nodded. "Absolutely. We'll make sure the company takes the necessary actions to address the financial misconduct as well." This isn't over yet. As the gala wound down, the sense of closure I had hoped for felt elusive. The scandal had been exposed, but the repercussions were far from over. As I left the venue, I reflected on the events of the evening, knowing that the truth had been revealed, but at a great cost. The future remained uncertain, and the impact of this night would continue to reverberate long after the guests had gone home. The fallout from the gala was swift and brutal. The company's board convened emergency meetings, Emily and Ryan were placed on administrative leave, and the media frenzy that ensued only added to the chaos. The scandal had not only tainted the reputations of those directly involved but had also cast a shadow over the company's integrity. As the weeks passed, the initial shock began to wear off, and the investigation into the financial misconduct deepened. Anna and I continued to work together, our focus shifting from the personal betrayal to the broader implications of the scandal. We were determined to uncover every layer of deception and ensure that the full extent of the wrongdoing was exposed. One afternoon, as I was sifting through a pile of documents related to the company's finances, I received a call from Anna. Her tone was urgent, and I could sense the gravity of the situation even before she spoke. "Jordan, we need to meet. There's something you need to see," she said, her voice tense. I agreed to meet her at a nearby cafe, the same place where we had first discussed our plan for revenge. As I arrived, Anna was already waiting, her expression more serious than usual. She handed me a folder, and I could see that it was filled with various documents. "What's this?" I asked, flipping through the papers. "More evidence on Ryan's financial misconduct." Anna shook her head. "Not exactly. While reviewing the documents, I found something concerning communications between Ryan and an external contact. It looks like they were planning to use the scandal to their advantage." I looked up, puzzled. "What do you mean?" Anna pointed to a particular email. In this message, Ryan discusses how they could leverage the scandal to position themselves as victims, and how they could use their newfound public sympathy to secure more power within the company. I felt a chill run down my spine. "So, you're saying they plan to manipulate the situation?" "Exactly," Anna confirmed. "And that's not all. I found evidence suggesting that Ryan was working with someone else, someone from inside the company. It seems like a larger scheme was at play." I stared at the documents, the pieces of the puzzle starting to fall into place. "Do you have any idea who the other person might be?" Anna's expression grew more troubled. "I'm not sure yet, but we need to dig deeper. If Ryan and his accomplices were planning to exploit the scandal, we need to uncover their entire network." We spent the next few days poring over the documents, tracing financial transactions, and following leads. It was a grueling process, but every new piece of evidence brought us closer to the truth. One evening, as we were going through some financial records, Anna's phone buzzed with a message. She read it, her face growing pale. "What is it?" I asked, sensing something was wrong. Anna took a deep breath. "It's a tip-off from one of my contacts. They say that Anna Blake, the same name as mine but not related, has been orchestrating the whole thing. She's been using me and you as pawns in her plan." I was stunned. "You mean someone else with your name?" "Why?" Anna nodded. "Yes. Apparently, this other Anna Blake has been manipulating the situation to gain control over Ryan's contacts and position herself as a key player within the company. She's been using the scandal to her advantage all along." I felt a mixture of disbelief and anger. "So, you've been played?" Anna's eyes were filled with frustration. "It seems so. I had no idea someone was using my name to further their own agenda. We need to confront her and expose her involvement." We quickly arranged a meeting with the other Anna Blake. It was clear that the time for subtlety had passed. We needed to confront her directly and uncover her motives. The meeting took place in a private office, away from prying eyes. The other Anna Blake, an imposing figure with a sharp demeanor, sat across from us, her expression unreadable. "So, you figured out my game," she said coolly as we took our seats. I couldn't hide my anger. "Your game? You've been using the scandal to manipulate the situation for your own gain. How could you?" The other Anna's lips curled into a thin smile. "I didn't plan for things to spiral out of control, but once the opportunity presented itself, I seized it. I knew that creating chaos would allow me to gain power and influence." Anna's voice was cold as she spoke. "You've used us all, Jordan, Ryan, Emily, as pawns in your scheme. You've manipulated a personal betrayal to advance your own agenda." The other Anna's gaze was unwavering. "In the world of corporate power, such actions are commonplace. The end justifies the means, after all." I felt a surge of anger but managed to keep my voice steady. "We won't let you get away with this. The truth needs to come out." The confrontation was intense, but we had the evidence to back up our claims. We planned to expose the other Anna Blake's manipulation alongside the financial misconduct and personal betrayals. As we prepared to reveal the full extent of the scandal, including the other Anna's involvement, I was left with a profound sense of betrayal and disillusionment. The web of deceit had extended far beyond what I had initially imagined, and the price of exposing it had been steep. The truth was finally on the verge of coming to light, but it had come at a cost. Trust had been shattered, alliances broken, and the line between right and wrong had become painfully blurred. As I faced the task of clearing up the aftermath, I knew that the journey toward rebuilding my life and understanding my own place in this complex world was only beginning.